Good morning, guys. I am Liz. I'm here to guide you through your morning practice. Just a little something to kind of ease into your body this morning and get you ready for the rest of the day, but to help you move through your day with a little bit more openness and lightness in the body, hopefully a little less tension. It's maybe obvious to some of you how much tension we've been holding in our bodies in recent days with all the emotions we've been feeling. That stuff goes places. So we're just going to try to move some of that through. So just you and me this morning, and let's just see where this takes us. So we're going to start in child's pose right off the bat. So go ahead and take it into your version of child's pose. Remember, that can be, if it's hard to be on your knees, you can always put a blanket underneath your knees. You can keep your knees together and just kind of bow forward, bring your forehead to the floor, arms at your side. But if you want to take traditional child's pose, go ahead and open those knees up as wide as you can, but try to get your big toes to touch. And then you're going to slowly make your way down to the floor, bringing your forehead to the mat. Let's just keep those arms nice and heavy right now alongside the head. And I just want you to take some nice deep breaths here. So staying in child's pose, take a deep inhale breath through the nose. A deep exhale breath. As you inhale, think about taking a nice full breath, letting that belly diaphragm expand. And then as you exhale, just softening your lower back, softening your head into the mat a little bit more, just letting go. Just easing into the body this morning. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Breath in. Breath out. Feel free to do some nice open mouth exhales if that helps you soften a little bit more. And then whenever you're ready, you can start your yogic breathing, just breathing in and out through the nose. Deep breaths in. Deep breaths out. Good. Take a few more really good breaths. Remember, this is an awesome pose to do, just to plop down and do in your own home. If you're just feeling overwhelmed, child's pose is an awesome pose to just kind of help you surrender, let go, and reconnect with your breath. Good. Take one more really good breath here. Good. When you're ready, let's start to walk those arms out in front of you nice and long. We did this in our last session together. Walk those arms out as far as you can. If you need to lift your head up for a second, that's just fine. And then I want you to set your head back down and then just work on expanding that chest, opening those shoulders. So really reach those arms in front of you and then see if you can kind of push your butt back towards your heels using your hands. So getting a nice full body stretch. Breathing in. Breathing out. Good. Take one more really good breath. See if you can drop that chest towards the floor just a little bit more. Good. From here, we're going to roll into those hips a little bit. So I want you to just come up for a second, but keep your legs as they are. Just bring those hands closer to the body. And if you need to watch here for a second, you can. So on your inhale, we're just going to bring those hips forward. If you want to keep your feet touching, your toes touching, you certainly can. And then just drop your hips towards the floor. Lift the chest, finding a little upward dog in the heart, pressing those hands firmly into the mat. And then as you exhale, start to tuck the pelvis under, gently pull those hips back to the heels again, back in a child's pose. So we're just going to flow through that nice and slow, inhaling to come forward. Nice and slow with those. I keep saying that. Just be really gentle with this, mindful of that lower back. And then as you exhale, tuck the pelvis, pull the hips back. Good. So just move through that with your breath. On your inhale, I just got overtaken by a plant. When you inhale, coming forward each time, see if you can go a little further into dropping those hips. You're going to feel that in the quads as well. And then as you exhale, when you pull back, just sink again back into child's pose deeply. Let's do 2 more, nice and slow, moving with your breath, inhaling to come forward. Exhaling to pull back. Good, 1 more time, inhale. Exhale. Awesome. Good, from here, let's slowly start to make our way onto the palms, and then maybe separate the toes for this, but keep your knees a little wider apart. We're gonna get into those shoulders a little bit, shoulders and chest. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna extend that right arm, left arm is gonna stay underneath the body. We're just gonna extend the right arm, our butt's gonna come up in the air, drop down onto that right shoulder, drop your head, and then slowly push back up through that left hand. We're gonna switch sides. So right arm comes forward, or left arm extends out, right arm bends, butt in the air, and just drop down onto that left shoulder. So we're just getting a nice little shoulder stretch, bicep stretch maybe a little bit, if your biceps are tight. If you need to walk your knees in a little closer, just play around a little bit, just dropping down to that shoulder. Good, so just moving from side to side. Make sure you're still breathing. So inhaling as you extend with that outward arm, and then exhaling to come back in. If this feels really good and you really like being down on that shoulder, go ahead and just stay there and take a few breaths on either side. This is your practice, so do what you will with it. If something feels good, just kind of hang out in there a little bit longer. But let's do 2 more on each side, nice and slow, moving with your breath, or just, like I said, just hold it and breathe. And then after you finish that second one, let's slowly come back up to tabletop pose. So now you can have those knees together under the hips, hands are underneath the shoulders, and we're just gonna move into puppy dog pose really quick. So just keep the knees, the legs where they are, and then slowly walk those hands out in front of you. So that butt's gonna start to come up into the air again. We're just working on bringing that chest towards the floor. If you can, see if you can drop down onto your chin. That might be a lot to ask this early in the morning, so if that's not gonna happen and you're feeling too tense in this pose, just drop down onto your forehead. Your main focus is keeping that butt in the air and then pushing the mat away as you get a nice long stretch in the shoulders and the chest. Find your breath, take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. Good, 1 more breath in. Breath out. Good. Slowly lift your head, start to walk your hands back one at a time towards the legs. Good. Moving into tabletop pose. Good. From here in tabletop pose, remember we talked about this if you did last night's class, or not last night, Thursday night's class. Tabletop pose, we want to be nice and solid. So there's no dumping in the chest and the shoulders. There's no dumping into that lower back. I want you to push the floor away so that arms are straight. Make sure you spread those hands nice and wide. Little tuck of the pelvis. Okay, it's just a tiny little difference. So instead of dumping into that lower back, it's pulling that pelvis under. And we want to kind of think about that through every posture that we do. Just a little tuck of the pelvis, and then core is nice and solid. And then moving through cat and cow, nice and slow. On an inhale breath, just start to draw the chest through the shoulders. Now you can lift those hips, lift the chin, feel that stretch all the way down through the core. And then exhale to cat pose, tuck the pelvis under, push the mat away. Good. Inhale, cow pose, nice and slow. Exhale to cat. So just flow with your breath. Really exaggerate these postures. You're in your own home, so don't worry about what you look like, and you shouldn't worry anyway, but I'm just saying really push yourself in either direction. So as you inhale to cow pose, really push that booty back, open that chest, lift the chin, and then as you exhale to cat pose, really push the mat away, tuck the chin into the chest, round out the spine. Good, 2 more nice and slow. Just kind of see this as a kind of rolling back massage. And then one more deep inhale breath. Exhale. Let's hold cat pose. So once you get to cat pose, really press through those hands, tuck that chin, lift the spine towards the ceiling. Good. Slowly come back down to that nice neutral tabletop pose. Awesome. From here, we're going to do just a couple scapular push-ups to help wake up the upper back a little bit more. So same thing, we're still in tabletop pose. Hands are underneath the shoulders, and make sure those fingers are spread nice and wide. All we're going to do here is lift and lower the chest. So our arms are not going to bend. We're not doing a push-up, technically. We're just working on those shoulder blades and upper back. So all you're going to do is just lower the chest. So imagine that you have a ball in between your shoulder blades, a tennis ball. And you're just wrapping your shoulder blades around that ball. Drop your chest, but keep your belly solid. And then as you exhale, push the shoulders apart. Okay? So just nice and slow. Lowering down. Lifting back up. Real easy. Good. Find your breath. Breathe with each movement. Just let that head be nice and soft. Good, let's do two more. With your breath, nice and slow, squeezing your shoulders around that imaginary ball. Good. From here, let's slowly start to work on those feet on the other end. So we're going to curl the toes under for a second. Just see how your arches of your feet are feeling, how the balls of the feet are feeling, and just sit your butt back on your heels. This might be enough. You might feel enough of a stretch here to just sit with this. I just want you to take a few breaths here. If your feet are feeling pretty good, if your ankle mobility is pretty good, you can start to walk your hands back towards your thighs. And you can sit right up on top of those heels. Just make sure if you're going to do this that you get nice and tall through the spine, really lift the crown of the head towards the ceiling, get nice and light through the upper body, and then breathe into those feet. This is a really hard one for me. I have terrible ankle mobility, but I'm going to breathe through this anyway, so just take a nice deep inhale breath. Deep exhale breath. Good, one more breath in. Breath out. Good, let's slowly make our way back to our hands. Uncurl those toes, and then just tap the tops of the feet into the mat. That should feel good, just kind of work that through. Good. One more quick pose while we're on all fours here. So we're just gonna work on that thoracic mobility, the middle part of the back. So similar to what we did in cat and cow, we're just gonna add our leg into it. Legs. So from here, on your inhale, we're going to bring that right leg forward, step it to the outside of the right hand. And then as you exhale, you're going to find that little cow pose. So you're going to drop the belly as much as you can. It's not a big movement. Lift the chest, lift the chin if you can. So you're really going to feel that pull in that hip and glute. And then on your exhale, just gently pull the hips under, drag that leg back into tabletop. Good. So just move with your breath. Inhaling, step the left foot out. Good. Drop the belly, lift the chest, and then gently pull back. Good. So move with your breath side to side, nice and slow. If you can't get that foot right alongside the hand, that's okay. Just get it somewhere up there, close. Good. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breath in. Breath out. Good. Let's do one more each side after this one. So as you sink that belly and lift that chest, you're going to feel that pull all the way down to the hips. That should feel pretty good. Good. Slowly find your way back to tabletop pose. Awesome. Let's just get off all fours for a second and come into a seated position. And then we'll get back into downward dog eventually. So just coming into a nice seated pose, nice easy cross-legged seat. We did this in Thursday night's class too, but I just kind of want you to roll through those hips a little bit. So just bring those hands out in front and just slowly start to make your way left to right. Just sway side to side. Go ahead, drop that chin, drop the head. Just see how those hips are feeling. As you shift to the left, open up that right knee. As you shift to the right, oh, here she comes. She's got to be on camera. Okay. Listen, this is not going to work. I'm in her spot. Normally she sits on a bench that's right here and stares out the window. So I'm in her territory, right? So just move side to side. Could you move too? Just this way a little bit? Okay. And then make that sweep a little bit bigger. So see if you can come out over that right leg, if that feels good, or if it's uncomfortable, maybe you can stay there and just kind of breathe into it, soften that left hip a little bit. But nice deep breath, stay connected to that breath, and then moving over to that other side. Good, just a couple more times, shifting side to side or holding it on each side for a couple breaths. Good. From here, we're going to slowly bring it up. Then we're just going to work on that neck, upper back, and shoulders here a little bit. So just finding a nice, easy cross-legged seat. Go ahead and soften those shoulders away from the ears. If you want to close your eyes, you can, and just listen to my voice and my cues. So just keeping those hands nice and heavy in the lap. I want you to check in with your posture. So I want you to sit a little taller if you can, drawing the chest forward, lifting the crown of the head towards the ceiling. Good. Take a deep inhale breath through the nose. As you exhale, just gently drop your chin to your chest. So let gravity pull that forehead down. Try not to lose that length in the spine, just working on the head and the neck here. So let that head drop, chin to chest. Let it keep falling. But make sure you stay nice and tall. Try not to collapse the chest and the shoulders as you bring that head down. Good. Just breathe into that space, the back of the neck. Breathing in. Breathing out. Good. Breath in. Breath out. Good. I want you to take your right hand. Just press your right fingertips into your forehead just to push your head back up to center. Let your hand do all the work. Lift that heavy head. Good. And then we're going to take that stretch to the side. So we're going to go to your right. So take a deep inhale breath. Check in with the spine. Get nice and tall. As you exhale, drop your head to the right. Just bringing ear to shoulder. Soften that shoulder down. So notice what that opposite shoulder does. If it starts to creep up towards the ear, if your neck muscles are really tight, maybe you can even set a hand on that opposite shoulder. But just try to get as soft as you can in this pose. Breathing in. Breathing out. So much of our tension goes into the head and the neck, and then we feel it in the form of tension headaches. So this is a great stretch to do just to kind of keep things loose. But also throughout your day, just keeping your shoulders nice and soft can do wonders for tension headaches. So just check in with yourself as you move through your day, just making sure your shoulders are softened away from the ears and that you're not like this, which is easy to feel right now, I know. Good. When you're ready, take your right hand, just press it into the side of your face, push your head back up to center. Let your hand do all the work. Good. Go ahead, drop that hand. Let's take it to the other side. Take an inhale breath. Just get a little taller again if you've started to lose your posture, and then drop that ear to shoulder. Nice and slow. So again, notice what the opposite shoulder is doing. If it starts to creep up, see if you can soften it back down. Just find your breath, breathing in. Breathing out. Breath in. Breath out. Good. One more breath. we're gonna move into downward dog from here. So when you're ready, just come back onto all fours. You're taking up a little bit of space here on my mat. Okay, so remember in downward dog, we're just making an upside down triangle. The key in downward dog is to make sure that you are distributing weight evenly between your hands and your feet so that you don't feel like you're doing a push-up. Downward dog, especially first thing in the morning, can feel really good if you do it right, but also can feel like a lot of work. So I want you to take the work out of it and really focus on feeling a little bit lighter in the pose and stronger in the pose. So make sure those hands are spread nice and wide, big jazz hands here. A little wider than shoulder width, I kind of like, but you can have them a little more narrow. And I like to turn my hands out. Some people like to turn them inward. It's your pose, so just do with it what feels right and helps you feel strong and stable. And then coming into that upside down triangle. So we're just gonna curl those toes under. Okay. Curl those toes under, start to lift those hips high. Don't worry about what it looks like right now. I just want you to pedal out those feet. So bend the right knee, then the left knee. See how those calves feel as you drive those heels towards the floor. Just shifting side to side. But as you do this, working a chest closer to the thighs, so really getting a nice stretch in that upper back and taking some of the weight out of the hands. Good. After you've pedaled a few times, I want you to soften those heels into the floor. Take a deep inhale breath through the nose. As you exhale, see if you can press your chest towards your thighs just a little bit more. Pressing those heels down. Feel that calf stretch. Loose. This is not working. Good. So from here, keep pressing. Take another deep inhale breath through the nose. Exhaling. Good. Look up towards your hands. Slowly walk your feet up towards your hands, 1 foot at a time. Could you squat this way? Okay. So nice little forward fold here, ragdoll pose, just giving those hamstrings a nice little stretch this morning. So just grab opposite elbow, opposite hand, sway side to side. See how those hamstrings are feeling, how the glutes are feeling, how that lower back is feeling, and bring some of that weight forward into the toes just a little bit. Good. Good. From here, we're just going to do a little twist. So keeping those legs as they are, go ahead and drop that left hand down to the floor. You can just be on your fingertips if you want. You don't have to come all the way to the floor if your hamstrings are really tight and you can't get there. We're going to bend that left leg deeply, and then we're going to slowly start to reach that right arm up towards the ceiling. It's just opening up. You might feel that in that right hip, right glute. If you can't get to the floor, just hover that left hand above the mat. That's just fine. A block would be nice if you have a block. Not everybody has props this morning. So just open up. Good. Let's lower that right hand down. Same thing other side. Drop the right hand to the mat. Take a nice deep bend in that right knee. Inhale that left leg high. Exhale, bring that left hand to the floor. Good. One more time, other side. Inhale, right leg high, bend the left knee. Good. Exhale. Inhale, left arm high, last time. Exhale. Good. Back into that nice forward fold. Good. From here, let's slowly step back with that left foot. Right, so we're going to start to get into those hips and hamstrings a little bit. Could you just move a little bit this way? Okay. No, that way. This is great. Okay, just like this. Okay, so moving into a nice lunge here. So stepping back with that left foot, right leg is going to come forward. We're just going to open up. Lucy, come on. Come over here. I want you to plant that left hand alongside of the right leg. And we're going to put that right hand on top of the right thigh. And we're just going to gently guide that right knee open. So a little bit of a runner's lunge here. We're not taking it super deep, but just kind of roll onto the edge of that right foot. See how that feels to open that hip. Drop the left hip down. If you want to add a little twist in, just be mindful of that lower back. But just roll that right shoulder back. You can even look up or look back behind you. Just sink into this nice deep stretch this morning. Good. Slowly come back to center. And then let's toe heel that right foot underneath you. So right heel is underneath that right knee. That left leg is extending back behind you nice and long. Again, if your hips are really tight, maybe a full lunge like this is not feeling that great this morning. So you can always slide that left knee up a little bit, a little closer. And this could be your lunge too. Just finding something that's comfortable, but challenge yourself if you really want to get that stretch this morning to just kind of let that leg go back behind you as far as you can. Good. From here, we're going to slowly make our way up to our thigh. So bring both hands up on top of that thigh. And then if you can, I want you to try to sink into that right knee, drop that left hip. So as you move into this lunge, crescent moon, really think about letting that left leg go nice and soft, letting your butt cheek get nice and soft, but also softening the shoulders away from the ears. Good. Take a deep inhale breath. Exhale. Good. Deep breath in so you can get a little taller through the spine. Exhale. Good. One more breath. Good. From here, we're going to take a little side bend. So if you need to come out of this pose for a second, if holding this is really intense, just come out of it for a minute. Slide that back leg up a little bit. Actually, let's all just do that just for, it's Saturday morning. We're just moving slow here, so we don't need to go crazy. So slide that back leg in a little bit. We're just going to get one more little hip flexor stretch. So what I want you to do is just pull those hips forward a little bit. So you're going to feel that stretch in the hip, the left hip, and the quad. Good. I'm going to turn around so you can see a little better. And then we're going to just sink forward, just like we did in that long lunge. But we're going to take a little side bend in with it. So just rest that right hand on top of the right thigh. Take a deep inhale breath. Reach that left arm overhead. As you exhale, we're just going to take a little bend to the right. So keep reaching away with that left hand, pulling everything nice and long, opening everything up. Just make sure you keep that left bicep back by the ear, that you're not collapsing forward. And then just take it, doesn't have to be a big bend, just a little to the right. Breathing in, keep dropping into that right knee if you can. Exhale. Good. Slowly reach up towards the ceiling first. Get nice and long, pulling those hips back. As you exhale, bring that hand down. Good. Nice and slow. Let's come into half splits here. We did this one also the other day. One of my favorite stretches. I do this one almost every time I practice. For this one, I'm going to have you flex that right foot. So the right foot's going to be pulling back towards the shin. If you can, if your hamstrings are feeling okay, you can go ahead and grab those big toes. Pull your big toes back towards your shin. If that's too much and it feels like a good enough stretch, just holding the right foot flexed, go ahead and do that. What I want you to focus on though is working on bringing that chest towards your thigh. Go ahead and round out your back this morning, tuck the chin. Still trying to hinge at the hips and fold with the chest rather than trying to get your nose to touch, but go ahead and round out those shoulders if you need to. So let's take a nice deep inhale breath. As you exhale, just slowly start to fold, just little bits at a time here. So if those hamstrings are really tight waking up this morning, be gentle, breathing in, breathing out. Breath in. Breath out. Good. As you breathe, maybe you can reach for the toes, see how that feels just for a couple of final breaths. You can probably hear my stomach growling. Good. When you're ready, slowly come up. And then we're just going to do one more quick little thing here. I want you to take your toes and I want you to turn them inwards. We're just going to hit that upper thigh glute from a different angle. So just turn the toes inward. We're still in the same position. And then just take a nice deep inhale breath to prepare. As you exhale, slowly fold over that. See if that changes anything in the stretch. If you feel it differently in the hamstring, just keep rolling that foot in. Just 2 more breaths here. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breath in. breath out. Good. Slowly making your way forward with those hands. Bring that right foot back to meet the left. Awesome. Good. Let's just kind of sway those hips side to side. Bring the knees together. Hands underneath the shoulders. Just drop the hips to the left. Drop the hips to the right. Just stretching out here a little bit more. Good. When you're ready, let's go ahead and move back into downward dog. So just curl those toes under gently. Start to lift those hips high. Press the top of the mat away from you as you work that chest towards the thighs. Pedal it out a couple times and then let's settle those heels down. Take a deep inhale, breath through the nose. Big open mouth exhale. Good. One more deep breath in. Big exhale. Good. Look up towards your hands. Slowly walk your feet up towards your hands. Just little baby steps here. Again, nothing too crazy this morning. Just toe heel those feet up. Good. Nice little ragdoll pose. So we're going to move into a deeper forward fold here. If you need to separate your feet a little bit more, you certainly can. So a couple options. If your hamstrings are really tight today, just see if you can grab your shins or your ankles and use the strength of your arms to pull you down when we get into it. If you can reach your big toes, you want to grab your big toes with your peace fingers, you can do that. Or if you want to take gorilla pose, you're going to slide both hands underneath your feet. Try to get to the palms if you can, stepping on the backs of the wrists, the palms with the feet. I'm going to hold my toes this morning because my hamstrings are so angry today. So whatever posture you're going to take a deep inhale breath. See if you can find a little halfway lift of the spine. And then as you exhale, start to float your body a little more forward into the toes, pulling yourself down gently. Try to let the crown of the head go towards the floor. Wow, I am so stiff this morning. If you are too, just be gentle. Keep a bend in the knees. Just folding in half, breathing in. Breathing out. Breath in. Breath out. See if you can let that head go just a little bit more. Good. And then release the grip of your hands, whatever you're holding. Nice. And then let's slowly make our way to the top of the mat. If you somehow got into the middle, let's go ahead and step that right leg back to a little lunge. Good. So we're going to set up for hip stretching on the other side, hamstring stretch. Dropping that right knee to the floor, left leg is forward. Let's go ahead and drop that right hand on the inside of the left foot. And then just gently guide that left knee open if you can. Pressing into it with the left hand. If you want to add a little twist here, you can just slowly roll that left shoulder back. Gaze back behind you. Just see how that feels to drop that right hip into the mat. Good. When you're ready, slowly come back to center. Let's toe heel that left leg underneath you, coming into that nice long lunge. So slowly dropping those hips. Let's bring those hands up on top of that left thigh. And then sink into it. Again, we're just going to be here for a few breaths. I want you to think about getting nice and tall instead of caving forward into that left leg. So keep reaching that crown of the head towards the ceiling, dropping to that right hip. See if you can let that right butt cheek get nice and soft. Just let that right leg be nice and heavy. Take a deep inhale breath. Deep exhale breath. Good. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Good, we're going to take that little side bend. So if you want to come out of the pose just for a second, maybe slide that back leg in just a little bit more. And then all I want you to do here is just pull those hips forward. So feel that stretch as you start to drive the hips forward. You're going to feel that in the hip, maybe even down into that quad. Good. And then just rest that left hand on top of the left thigh. Take a deep inhale breath. Let's reach that right arm overhead. As you exhale, just take a little bend to the left. Again, nice and gentle this morning. You don't have to go super far. Just keep reaching that right hand up and away. Feel that stretch all the way down to the hip. And then exhale, see if you can bend just a little bit. Good. Take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. Good. Breath in. Breath out. Awesome. Big inhale breath. Reach that right arm up overhead. As you exhale, bring that hand down to the floor. Good. Moving into half splits. On this side, go ahead and extend that left leg out. Flex the left toes back towards your face. So again, on this side, you decide how you want to use this pose. If you want to try to grab that big toe, or just keep the arms alongside of the leg. Take a deep inhale breath. As you exhale, just fold forward. Good. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. So again, don't worry about having a flat back here. Go ahead and tuck the chin if you want. We're just working on that left hamstring, but see if you can think about folding from the the hips, working on bringing that chest down. Good. 2 more really good breaths. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breath in. Breath out. Good. We're going to stay in this stretch and just turn that foot inward like we did on the other side. So just see if that changes anything at all. You might feel that up into the outside of the glute. Just find your breath. Take a deep inhale breath. Exhale. Good. Breath in. Breath out. Good. When you're ready, drop those toes to the floor. Slowly bring those hands out front. Swing that left leg to meet the right. Again, let's just shift those hips side to side for a second. So keep the hands underneath the shoulders. Drop the hips to the left. Drop the hips to the right. Just swishing the hips like windshield wipers. Good. From here, I want you to curl those toes under, walk those hands back. And then we're gonna just get into a little squat here just for a few breaths. So if you can see me, so I'm working into a squat. I want you to start to walk your feet nice and wide on your mat. Turn those toes out if you need to. So just kind of shift side to side here, from toes on one side to toes on the other. Keep those hands out in front of you for support. If you have a block and the squat is really hard for you, a low squat, you can also sit on your block. I'll try to use a prop next time just to explain it better. You can sit that block up right underneath you. Otherwise, we're just going to be here for a couple breaths, so just try it and see how it feels. So I want you to drop your hips down. See if you can get those heels onto the mat. If you can't, maybe walk your feet a little further apart until your heels are down. And then let's bring those hands to heart center. And then all I want you to do here is just press those knees open. See if you can lift your chest. Just take 3 really good breaths here. Breathing in. Breathing out. Keep that chest lifted. Good. Breath in. Breath out. Soften those toes. Good. 1 more breath. Nice. When you're ready, bring those hands out in front. Let's drop those knees down. We're going to do a couple little pulses of frog pose. This is a huge hip stretch, and again, we're just warming up this morning, so I want you to take this one really slow, but you might want to move sideways on your mat. So turn around on your mat so both your knees are on your mat. And then we're going to walk those knees as far as we can, or as far as is comfortable. Again, this is a big stretch once you start moving, so just be gentle with it. I'm going to move sideways on my mat too so you can see, and so my knees are supported. And then I want you to flex your feet outward from each other. So flex those feet, so a frog. Basically, we look like a little frog here, frog pose. We're gonna bring those hands in front. I just want you to see how this feels to sit in this pose, opening up those knees nice and wide. This is right away, it's intense. So just take it nice and slow. If you wanna take it a little further, or play around with it a little bit. Work your way down to your forearms. Maybe come forward a little bit. If it gets to be too intense, bring the body forward. But I just want you to take a couple stretches forward and back in this, okay? So on your inhale, we're just gonna float the hips forward. And then on your exhale, just pull the hips back. Nothing else to it, just breathing in, gently moving the hips forward. And pulling the hips back. So obviously in this pose, we have to use a little bit of core in this kind of plank position. So just be gentle as you float front to back. As you exhale, maybe you can sink back just a little bit more towards the heels. And then just come forward. Good, and then we're gonna hold it for a few breaths. So when you're ready, take a deep inhale breath. As you exhale, just slowly pull those hips back. See if you can just sit here, let your head go, drop into it. Keep those feet flexed, just breathing into that space. Nice. When you're ready, slowly come up onto the palms, one at a time. And then we're going to ease out of this gently. Soften the feet. And then just slowly slide that right leg in, left leg in. Nice job. Good. That's a big stretch. One of my favorites, but you got to be gentle with it. Let's come back onto a seated pose on our mat. Let's bring the bottoms of the feet to touch into cobbler's pose. So same thing if you did this Thursday night with us, we're just opening up those hips a little bit and inner thighs from a different angle. So if you just want to drive those knees down with your elbows, see how that feels. Just kind of easing them open gently. Just for a second. If you want to fold a little bit, you can just breathe into that space, but keep pressing those legs open. Good. And then we're gonna go ahead and bring those knees to the front of the mat, bending the knees. Just one more quick little glute stretch here. So open those knees up nice and wide. Bring your heels in nice and close to your butt. We're gonna roll those knees to the left, all the way to the floor. So just take a nice deep inhale breath. As you exhale, drop the knees to the left. We're gonna swing back behind the body and just slide down, drop down on top of that left leg for a second. Good, get nice and heavy on top of that left glute. Nice little glute stretch here. Good, and then slowly start to walk your hands back towards that left leg. Let's do that same thing on the other side. So just swing those legs over to the right, bring them all the way to the floor. And then go ahead and swing back behind you, drop down onto the chest, on the forehead. Head is nice and heavy on the floor as you sink into that right hip. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breath in. Breath out. Good. Slowly come back up. Awesome. Coming back onto the mat. We'll just do one more little chest expansion here from this pose, and then we're going to take it down onto our backs. So go ahead and clasp those hands behind you. Just see how the shoulders are feeling now, if any better. Just grabbing opposite elbow, opposite hand. I just want you to sit nice and tall. Think about driving those elbows towards the floor. Take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. If you want to take it a little bit further, if this feels awkward, you can clasp your hands behind your back and just roll those shoulders back. Guide those hands away from the body. You don't have to go very far. Just feel that stretch in the shoulders. Make sure you're still breathing in. Breathing out. Good. Go ahead, gently lower those hands. Separate the hands. Good. Let's scoot up to the top of the mat. We're going to take it down onto our backs for our final stretch. And then a little bit of breathing work before we move into the rest of our day. So scoot up to the top of the mat. A little core work to get yourself down. Bring those hands out in front, palms facing up. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, use that core to round out that back. Lower yourself down. Good. Ooh, lots of cracks here. Okay, so from here, we are going to just do figure four quick. Get the hips and the glutes one last time. So just cross that right ankle over the left thigh. And then just gently guide that right knee open with your hand. From here, we're going to lift that left leg up. So as we start to move into the stretch, if that right knee starts to come in, I want you to try to think about keeping that open. Not with your hand, but just kind of mentally pressing that right leg away. Go ahead, reach through, grab behind the left hamstring if you can, and then try to soften your shoulders back down into the mat. So if your hips are really tight, everything's going to want to be pulled up towards that left thigh. That's okay. Just see if you can soften your head down at least. And keep pulling that left leg in with the arms. Find your breath. Take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. You can soften that right foot if you want, if that helps a little bit to keep the head and the neck relaxed as you pull the left leg in. Good. When you're ready, gently release your hands from behind your hamstring. Go ahead and lower that left leg to the floor. Uncross the legs. Let's cross the left leg, left ankle over the right thigh. Just gently guide that left knee open a little bit. So think about keeping that left knee open as you start to pull the right leg towards the body. When you're ready, take a deep inhale breath. Lift that right leg. As you exhale, grab behind that right hamstring. Gently pull it in. So my left hip is super tight this morning. My left knee is real close to my elbow. That's just where it's going to be. I'm going to try to drive that left knee open as much as I can. Just make sure you keep breathing more than anything. Take a deep inhale breath. As you exhale, drawing that right leg closer. Good. One more breath. Good. Gently lower that right leg. Release the hands. Uncross the legs. Let's go ahead and walk those knees or walk those feet to the edges of the mat. You can just rest your hands on your belly. Just take a deep inhale breath through the nose. As you exhale, gently lower the knees to the left. So let that right knee fall to the inside of the left foot. Doesn't have to come all the way to the floor, just so you feel that stretch up to the right hip. Good. Inhale, knees back to center. Just roll onto that lower back. Exhale, knees to the right. Breathing in. Breathing out. Good. Inhale, knees back to center. Exhale. Let's bring those knees into the chest. Rest the hands on top and just roll out the knees. Roll out the lower back by rolling the knees to the right, clockwise. And rolling the knees to the left. Nice deep breaths. Good. Moving into happy baby pose from here, our final stretch. So you can either come up in between the legs or be outside of the legs. Just grab onto the bottoms of the feet and just pull those knees into the armpits. Let those legs be open nice and wide. You can roll side to side if you want, if that feels good on the back. I try to do that and I always get stuck on one side. So just do whatever feels good for you in this pose. And then just keep pulling those feet down.